She slammed her fist on my hood and shouted, "You can't park here! I run this neighborhood!" I looked at her, calm but cold, holding my son's hand tighter. He was only 7, eyes wide, backpack slipping off his shoulder. We had just gotten back from his chemo appointment. I hadn't slept in 48 hours. But Karen didn't care. She was holding a clipboard and some printed HOA form with the logo half cut off. "This is private property," I said. "I own this house." She laughed. "Not anymore. The HOA voted to revoke your access. You're behind on dues. And that RV in your driveway? Illegal. I've already reported it. The RV wasn't even mine. My brother, a Marine, left it here 2 weeks ago while he was deployed." "I'm calling the sheriff," she hissed, pulling out her phone. "Or maybe the city inspector. You're gonna learn the hard way." I bent down to tie my son's shoe, keeping my voice level. "Do whatever you have to do." I wasn't bluffing, but I wasn't scared either. Because behind that locked gate, buried in my garage safe, was a folder Karen didn't know existed. Military discharge papers, land ownership deed, a sealed letter from a judge, and a camera. A camera pointed straight at my driveway, recording everything, chains rattling, metal scraping. My heart dropped. I ran outside barefoot, still half asleep, and there it was. The RV halfway up the ramp, rear wheels spinning. Karen stood beside the truck, arms crossed, sipping coffee like it was some morning show. "Told you," she said, smirking. "Unauthorized vehicle. Unsafe structure. I even had a city code officer sign off." She waved a paper but wouldn't. "Let me see it." My son was at the window, tapping the glass, confused. "I never got a warning," I said, voice shaking now, fists clenched. "You don't tow without notice." "You don't belong here," she snapped. "You think your sob story gets you out of the rules? This neighborhood has standards." That hit deep. She didn't know half the story. I stepped back, breathing hard, not out of fear, out of control. Because I had promised myself, promised my son, I wouldn't lose it in front of him again. So I pulled out my phone, scrolled past the missed calls, opened the app. Live footage from the security cam lit up my screen. There she was, from the night before, trespassing, scribbling fake notices, peeking through our windows. She had no idea I had her on tape, but I wasn't going to show my hand. Just yet. I just stared her down and said, "You really sure you want to play this game?" Her face changed, just for a second. Then she laughed. "Yeah, I make the rules here." By noon, my mailbox was stuffed with fake violation letters, unkept yard, improper parking, unsanctioned tenant. She was throwing everything. She had at me. And then, at 3:47 p.m., she crossed a line no one should ever cross. My son's school called. Said someone filed an anonymous tip claiming I was unfit as a parent. Said there were safety concerns at home. Said they'd received community complaints. I knew exactly who it was. No one else had motive. No one else had the audacity, and no one else had that much time to spread poison. I drove to the school immediately, cleared everything, showed them papers, doctor's notes, explained the treatments. My voice cracked halfway through, but I held it together. "He's all he's got," the nurse whispered to the principal. "You can see it in his eyes." They let us go with apologies, said it wouldn't go on record, but the damage had been done. My son sat silent in the back seat, hugging his stuffed tiger. "Why did that lady lie about us?" he finally asked. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Instead, I pulled into the driveway, walked straight into the house, and opened the garage. It was time. I dusted off the metal box, turned the key, and pulled out the folder. Inside, my land deed, signed and notarized. Court order confirming non-HOA lot status. Discharge papers from my unit, Elite Recon, U.S. Army. And the camera drive. The whole story was on there. Every lie, every trespass, every threat. Karen thought this was just another neighbor she could push around. She didn't know I spent 6 years learning how to dismantle threats without firing a shot. Now I was going to do it again. And this time, it would be public. Spent the next 2 hours uploading everything, footage from the cameras, audio from my doorbell mic, copies of her fake notices, a screenshot of the HOA directory, my name never listed. Not once. Then I emailed it all, not to her, to the county recorder's office, to the city code enforcement, to the real HOA president, who lived 3 streets over and had no idea what she'd been doing, and to my lawyer, the same guy who helped me win a land dispute 3 years ago. A Marine, just like my brother. By 6 p.m., my phone rang. It was the code inspector. He apologized, said Karen had forged the signature on that towing approval, said he'd never signed anything, said he'd be coming out personally to document the harassment. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. Karen. This time without the clipboard, face red, lips tight. "You think this is over?" she hissed. "You just declared war on the wrong woman." I didn't flinch. "You declared it first." She stepped closer, voice dropping. "You think your little camera tricks scare me?" That's when my son opened the door behind me and said quietly, "You're mean." Karen froze, for just a second, and in that silence I leaned forward and whispered, "You messed with the wrong family." The door closed. She backed away. But I knew she wasn't done. Not yet. What she didn't know, neither was I. By the next morning, my inbox was flooded. The HOA president had responded, furious. Said Karen was never elected, never had authority, and that she'd been warned before, twice. She wasn't even on the board anymore. The county seer's office confirmed the land deed. My lot was never under HOA jurisdiction. Never had been, and the best one? A message from the sheriff's department. They wanted to review the footage, all of it. I didn't smile. Not yet. But something inside me started to breathe again. At 4:12 p.m., a black SUV pulled into the street. 2 deputies got out, knocked on Karen's door. I stood across the road, leaning on my mailbox, sipping coffee from a chipped mug. Watching. She opened the door like she didn't have a care in the world. Then her hands started flying, arms waving, voice rising. She pointed at my house, at me, then at the RV that had been towed. The deputies didn't move. One handed her a document. She read it. Froze. Then something snapped. She grabbed the paper, tore it in half, and screamed, "I own this place." And that's when the second deputy calmly said something I'll never forget. "No, ma'am. He does." She looked over at me, eyes wide. For the first time, she looked unsure. I walked back inside, closed the door, and finally let my shoulders drop. But deep down, I knew she wasn't done. People like her don't go down easy. They sink deeper. They get desperate. And desperate people? They're dangerous. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was scared. Because I could feel it coming. Desperation. Retaliation. The kind of silence that doesn't feel safe. Around 2:36 a.m., the motion sensor lights outside flicked on. I looked through the blinds. There she was. Karen, crouched near the RV pad, holding something in her hand. A can. Spray paint. I grabbed my phone, hit record. She scrawled a giant red X across the driveway, then turned to my front door and started taping another one of her fake notices up, only this time it said, "Foreclosure in process. Tenant will be removed." She didn't even notice the blinking red light of the security cam 5 feet above her. I stepped outside, slow and steady, holding the phone high so she could see it recording. Her eyes went wide. She dropped the tape. "You're trespassing," I said. "You think I care?" she snapped. "I run this neighborhood." "You're about to run into a courtroom," I replied, voice calm. "I'll make your life hell," she hissed. "No one here wants you. No one ever will." That's when another porch light flicked on, then another, and another. Neighbors were stepping out, watching, silent, phones in their hands. Karen spun around and realized, for the first time, she wasn't the only one awake. She wasn't the only one who'd had enough. "You've harassed a child," a voice called out. "You towed a vet's property," someone else added. "You faked legal documents," said another. She turned pale, backed away, and then she ran, right into the arms of the deputy pulling up at the corner. No sirens, no drama. Just steel cuffs and a quiet, "Ma'am, you're under arrest for trespassing, vandalism, and impersonating a legal authority." She screamed the whole way down the street, but no one chased after her. No one stopped them. Because justice sometimes doesn't need noise, just evidence and a long memory.